Greetings to all of you, wherever you're listening from. I am Commander Bimal Raj, a TEDx speaker, internationally certified trainer and coach, mindset mentor, and a teen and parents coach. In this podcast, The Awkward Talks, I bring you topics that are usually considered taboo or are not discussed freely, but are some of the most pivotal things that we should be talking about. Some of you may be aware that I'm an award-winning author of my book, What Next? The Art of Bouncing Back. Now, this book is a collection of my life experiences, especially the ones where I had to restart my life from scratch. It's only when I did research for this episode that I realized that most of the events mentioned in the book come under this topic. In fact, many of you listening have been through this and may not even have realized it. So please listen to the full episode and I assure you that you will change the way you look at yourself. This is an unspoken and misunderstood subject. Adult-Onset Trauma. Now, before we deep dive into this topic, let us first try and understand what trauma is. Trauma is a response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event that overwhelms an individual's ability to cope. It can stem from experiences like accidents, abuse, natural disasters, or any situation that leaves a lasting emotional scar. Trauma is not just about what happened. It is also about how it affects you afterwards, and it often makes it hard to feel safe or trust others. It is important to recognize that everyone's reaction to a trauma is different, and healing is a personal journey and that takes time and support. In trauma, we keep hearing about childhood trauma. This happens when kids go through really tough or scary experiences like abuse, neglect, or even losing a loved one. These early hurts can stick with us and it can affect how we feel and act even as adults. Inner child healing is the process of reconnecting with that younger part of us, understanding their pain and offering them the love and support they missed out on. It's a journey of compassion and self-discovery, and it helps us heal old wounds and build a happier and healthier future. Now let's talk about something that might not come up in your everyday conversations but is super important. Adult-onset trauma. You might think trauma is just something that happens to kids or during early years, but it can strike at any age. And when it hits in adulthood, it can be a whole different beast to deal with. So what exactly is adult-onset trauma? Well, it refers to traumatic experiences that occur during adulthood, which can range from accidents, sudden loss of a loved one, assaults, or even natural disasters. These events can shake the very foundation of your life, leading to profound psychological impacts. There's a book, Wounded by Reality, Understanding and Treating Adult-Onset Trauma. It's written by Dr. Ghislaine Boulanger, who's a clinical psychologist, psychoanalyst, and professor. In this book, she does an incredible job unpacking how adults process trauma differently compared to children. Unlike kids, we as adults have a more complex, established system of meaning and identity, and that can be severely disrupted by trauma. It's like suddenly having the rug pulled out from under you when you thought you had life somewhat figured out. One of the key takeaways from Boulanger's work is the concept of shattered assumptions. We as adults tend to have certain beliefs about safety, control, and predictability in our lives. And trauma smashes these assumptions to pieces. Imagine going about our daily life feeling relatively safe and then boom, something happens that completely rewrites your reality. This is what makes adult trauma so disorienting and often more difficult to reconcile. I have been through a life-altering road accident which completely changed the course of my life. I've been wiped out financially, had to wind up my startup 2 weeks before the launch, and many more incidents like this. In fact, a large chunk of people in the world went through this during COVID. The world as we knew literally ceased to exist. We could not grow or even function the way we used to. We lost healthy, active people in our family whom we counted on. Thriving businesses had to be closed down. Jobs and earning sources dried down. Basically, most of us have experienced adult-onset trauma in these past few years. Another challenging part of this trauma is the isolation you feel after experiencing the trauma. Society often expects adults to be resilient and to bounce back quickly. But trauma doesn't work on a timetable.
This unrealistic expectation can make you feel isolated. You feel as if you're failing in some way because you're not over it yet. Boulanger emphasizes the importance of therapy and social support in healing. You need to acknowledge the trauma, understand its impact, and slowly rebuild your sense of self and worldview to recover from it properly. Therapy for adult trauma often involves creating a narrative. You need to piece together the story of what happened and find a way to integrate it into your life instead of letting it dominate your existence. Now, during this process, it is important to have supportive people around. People who can listen without judgment and understand that the road to recovery isn't a straight line. Trauma can make you feel incredibly vulnerable, and having a safe space to express that vulnerability is very crucial. Let me now talk about the different types of adult onset traumas. While listening, see if you can identify with any of these. That would make this episode very real and helpful for you. First, single incident trauma. Single incident trauma stems from a one-time event like a car accident or bike accident in my case, or natural disaster. These incidents can disrupt a person's sense of safety and cause lasting psychological distress. Next, chronic trauma. The chronic trauma is if you have been exposed to repeated and prolonged traumatic events. It can range from domestic violence to workplace bullying. This ongoing trauma can erode a person's sense of security and lead to long-term emotional and psychological effects. Third, complex trauma. Complex trauma involves exposure to multiple varied traumatic events, often of an invasive interpersonal nature. Examples include experiencing physical abuse, emotional neglect, and sexual assault over time. The cumulative impact of these traumas can severely affect one's ability to trust and feel safe. I think I have been through complex trauma even though it was not about physical abuse, emotional neglect, or sexual abuse. My reality, my hopes and dreams have been shattered multiple times. In other words, the rug was pulled from under my feet multiple times, and that too when I least expected it. I have been into the world of coaching and personal development since 2005. I think being in that space helped me navigate through my traumas and helped me bounce back in the shortest possible time. Despite that, I know for a fact that there are chunks of memory associated with my events that have been wiped out or have been suppressed by my subconscious mind. Now that we know about the possible causes, we should be aware of some key things to watch out for amongst our loved ones to be able to swiftly notice and help with adult onset trauma if required. Symptoms of adult onset trauma that you need to watch out for. First, emotional symptoms. Anxiety, overwhelming worry and fear, depression, persistent sadness and hopelessness, loss of interest in activities, anger, intense uncontrollable rage or irritability, guilt, feeling responsible or remorseful for the trauma, emotional numbness, detachment from emotions. Next are physical symptoms. Could be fatigue, constant tiredness despite of adequate rest. Could be sleep disturbances, trouble falling or staying asleep, common nightmares. Could be unexplained physical pain, aches and pains without medical cause. Next, cognitive symptoms. Memory problems, difficulty remembering details, which is clearly evident in my case. Could be difficulty concentrating, trouble focusing, making decisions or completing tasks. Or intrusive thoughts, recurring unwanted thoughts about the trauma. Next, behavioral symptoms. Avoidance, where you deliberately avoid reminders of trauma. Or substance abuse, using substances to cope. Or even changes in appetite, significant increase or decrease in eating habits. Now let us dig a little deeper into the causes of adult onset trauma. First, personal causes like accidents. Road and workplace accidents cause physical injuries and psychological scars, and this can lead to fear, rehabilitation challenges, and financial burdens. Health issues, sudden serious illness or disability such as cancer or accidents, or even COVID. These cause emotional and mental distress due to lifestyle changes and loss of abilities. Violence. Experience of witnessing violence including physical assault and domestic abuse and can lead to lasting fear, insecurity and emotional trauma. Next is environmental causes like natural disasters. Earthquakes, floods and cyclones cause immediate life threats, property destruction and loss of loved ones and it can leave lasting psychological scars. Man-made disasters, industrial accidents, and terrorism cause significant loss of life, health issues, and deep trauma from the sense of betrayal and fear. Personally, I think COVID also comes under this category as it has been proven that it was a man-made epidemic. Next, societal factors. Things like cultural stigma, mental health stigma that prevents people from seeking help, and it adds on to trauma and isolation. Economic stress, financial instability, and job loss lead to anxiety, depression, and trauma-related symptoms. Even social isolation, lack of support systems due to urbanization and migration, they increase the feelings of loneliness and heightened trauma. Now, what are the effects of adult-onset trauma? Could be shock and denial. How does it play out? Initial response to trauma could be shock and denial, and it manifests as numbness, confusion, and disorientation. It could be acute stress reaction, which is an immediate response to trauma, and it activates fight or flight mechanism. It can get overwhelming and exhausting if it is prolonged. Long-term effects. Trauma can lead to PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. And this causes flashbacks, avoidance, negative mood changes, and hyperarousal. Chronic health problems. Long-term trauma exposure increases risk of cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, gastrointestinal issues, and it complicates recovery. Next, impact on relationships. Trauma obviously strains relationships and it causes emotional withdrawal, trust issues, irritability, and communication breakdowns. Next, impact on daily life. When it comes to our daily lives, trauma can cause decreased productivity and even absenteeism from work. It can strain relationships due to loneliness, depression, and withdrawal from social life. At a personal level, it can destroy self-esteem due to the feeling of worthlessness, shame, and even guilt. Now, what can you do if you have been through adult-onset trauma? First and the most important is self-care practices. And the first in that is mindfulness and meditation. Practices like Vipassana and guided meditations, they can improve emotional regulation and overall well-being because they teach you to be in the present and become aware of what's happening now and without any judgment. Next, physical activity. Any kind of physical activity like yoga, exercises like walking or swimming can boost mood, increase energy levels, and improve sleep. Exercises release happy hormones called endorphins that elevates your mood and can also increase the mind-body connection. Next, have a healthy lifestyle. This is pretty intuitive as trauma tends to take you away from everything positive and good in life. When you start following a balanced diet, have adequate sleep and exercise, you are actually counteracting the trauma-induced disruptions and working intentionally towards a more positive life routine. Next, emotional support. You can talk to your loved ones because having people with whom you can share your thoughts and feelings is very important. It reduces isolation, provides empathy, and offers practical support, which is very crucial for emotional healing. Then there are support groups. There are community support groups, both offline and online. And being part of this validates your feeling. They offer acceptance and belonging, which can help you heal faster. And obviously, there is professional help available. There are professional therapy like CBT, DBT, EMDR, and they can help process traumatic memories, develop coping strategies, and promote healing under professional guidance. And in severe cases, there are psychiatrists who can prescribe medication, and that can help reduce the severity. Today, the world is unpredictable, and it is imperative that we are proactive and not reactive about life situations that can cause adult-onset trauma. This will help us build resilience, especially in the next generation where there will be even more unpredictability. Mental health education is very important to raise awareness and reduce the stigma associated. This will help people recognize signs of trauma and seek help proactively. Integrating mental health education into schools, workplaces, and communities is also very important. Remember, more than technical skills, children and young adults need to be equipped with life skills like stress management and coping strategies. They should have proper knowledge of mental health and the resources that are available. As a society, we need to wake up to this reality and chart out mental health campaigns, awareness drives with the support of NGOs and other support groups. In conclusion, adult-onset trauma is a profound disruption in an adult's life that can lead to significant psychological distress. This can happen to anyone. However, understanding and acknowledging it is the first step towards healing. It's about recognizing that trauma is just a part of your story. It doesn't have to be the whole story. You need to know and accept that your future need not be defined by your past, however horrible it may have been. Remember that human beings are the only species on earth who can chart out and craft a completely new life if you're not happy with what's been happening with you in the past. You just need to find the right people to help you and be in the right environment that can make you thrive. Don't ever let your past stop you from living life to your fullest potential. So if you or someone you know is dealing with adult onset trauma, remember, it's okay to seek help. It's okay to not have it all together. Healing is a journey, and there is strength in reaching out and taking those first steps. If you like our podcast, please do rate it. It's very encouraging for us. Do share this with as many as you can. Past few years have been very tough, and many of us haven't really been healed from the trauma. This could be an eye-opener for them. This is Commander Bimal Raj, and I will be back with another episode very soon.